Hebrew Israelites are some of the biggest hypocrites when it comes to research and information in order to validate their point in their narrative. So in the video where I talked about what happened to the so-called lost 10 tribes of Israel, I briefly mentioned West Africa. Y'all gotta know, I be setting y'all up for the follow-up and y'all fall for it every time. The reason why I mentioned West Africa is because I knew that someone would come with this comment right here. And they would start talking about how the kingdom of Wahuda was actually the kingdom of Judah. And that these Israelites had migrated to West Africa. And the Ashkenazi Jews had this map secretly passing amongst each other in the 1700s. And they show on their map the kingdom of Judah. On their map in around 1747 of what is now modern day Benin, which was also called the Slave Coast. Now, this kingdom was finally conquered, as he did describe, by the Dahomey. And we know that African tribes sold other African tribes to Europeans during the transatlantic slave trade. It was no doubt that that happened in the same way that Caucasians sold Caucasians during the Roman Empire and on up to around the 13th century and further, actually, that Caucasians sold each other into their own slavery with amongst their own people. But whoop-de-doo, Asians did the same thing. Everybody who had slavery in their culture sold people who looked just like them. It was all about tribes. But the point here is the hypocrisy first. The hypocrisy is the fact that Hebrew Israelites will say over and over again, you're using the white man's knowledge. You can't trust the white man's knowledge. The white man's knowledge is not trustworthy. But yet, you're using a white man European map in order to identify yourself as a lost tribe of Israel. Pot, kettle. That's all I'm saying. Pot, kettle. That's hypocritical as hell, my guy. So I need you to stop doing that. If you're going to prove that you are part of this tribe and you are going to hate white people and say that their knowledge is not factual, then you can't use their information in order to do this. Now, let me explain his misunderstanding of where it says on this map, the kingdom of Judah, slave coast. What this gentleman is missing is the understanding between translation and transliteration. And I'm gonna give you the example that's fitting for this, as well as another example that a lot of y'all are not gonna like either. So the example as far as this is concerned in this map, transliteration is when a language is a word in a language is used in another language, but not a direct translation of that language, of that word, to mean the exact same thing, but has as close proximity of a meaning as they possibly can. You see, in the English, they didn't have a translation for the Veda tribe, the Veda kingdom that this map is showing you. So because they didn't have Veda, then they changed it to Judah in English. The Portuguese changed it to Judah. The Dutch changed it to Frida because they didn't have the same. And other European countries, different European languages, transliterated it into something similar to either Frida or Judah or Judah because they didn't have that word, that sound in their own language. So they did the best they could as far as trying to approximate what it would sound like in their own language. This is in no reference to the Veda people, because the Veda people actually worshiped and venerated the snake. And most likely they did so because the snake would keep pests, rats, things like that, out of their fields. This is the same way in Egypt that Renenutet was worshipped, because the cobra would keep the rats and pests out of the field, so they venerated the snake as well. What we have here is a transliteration of calling them the kingdom of Judah because they didn't have the language dexterity to be able to say Exuida. Now, another example of that is Jesus. When you look at the Aramaic, Jesus's name would have been Yashu. Yashu. All right. Now, in the transliteration from Yashu to the Greek, we have Ius, because they didn't have the wa and the sh sound. So Ius. Then in the Latin, it becomes Isus. And when you look at an original King James text, which was written in the 1500s, it said Isus. Then when the J sound came in the English language, they added the J and you get Jesus. Same thing. It's a transliteration of identifying that same person, but just in a way that they can express it in their language as an approximate, but not as a direct translation. Yashu, I believe I'm correct, would translate to Joshua or Joshu, and then later on Joshua. But that's not sounds that they had in their language, so they wouldn't have translated to Joshua. So trying to use this European information to say that people of the Americas are the forgotten tribes, one of the 10 lost tribes, would be incorrect. And then, do you realize that you're saying that one of the lost tribes is the tribe of Judah, when historically we can identify that the tribe of Judah was not lost? The tribe of Israel and the tribe of Judah were not the ones that are considered lost. It is the tribe of Manasseh, the tribe of Benjamin, the tribe of Dan. It is all of those other 10 tribes that are lost. So the tribe of Judah doesn't even count as far as being one of the lost tribes, my guy. It is very well known that at when Titus conquered Judea, that the tribe of Judah was well known, and then that tribe of Judah was exiled into Egypt, North Africa, all throughout Europe, into East Africa, that they were exiled, that many went to be try to be sold as slaves, but no one would buy them. That is your Deuteronomy 28. It is not concerning the transatlantic slave trade, because there were many buyers for that. But the tribe of Judah was never lost, and a decent contingent of the tribe of Judah still remained in Israel. They were not lost. Manasseh, Benjamin, Dan, those are your tribes. So show me on your map where the kingdom of Dan is, where the kingdom of Manasseh is, where the kingdom of Benjamin is. Okay? But stop using the white man's knowledge if the white man is so evil and corrupt and you can't trust his knowledge when we're discussing anything else. But when it comes to something that fits your narrative, all of a sudden, oh, the white man's knowledge is good to go. So anyway, always remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.